let's talk about Ananta. This isn't just another anime game, it's the next big leap. A game where the world is truly yours. Go anywhere, do anything, become anyone. From sunny city vibes to wacky urban streets, it's a realm where style meets chaos and freedom meets action. Imagine being the captain of your own task force while investigating the supernatural. Swing from skyscrapers like Spider-Man, run across rooftops, drive through neon avenues, and explore like there's no limit. Ananta shows us what's possible. High-octane traversal, deep combat, and a supernatural mystery woven into the everyday. And characters you unlock by simply playing, not by chance. With nearly 800 developers pushing the limits of what's possible, this isn't just a game you'll play, it's a universe you'll live in. So, get ready, because this is the anime game that could define a generation. But is it really? On the surface, Ananta feels like a dream game for a lot of people. No character gacha, a big anime open world, flashy combat, tons of side content, etc, etc. It looks like the kind of game that could redefine how we look at anime games in general. But when we strip away the glossy trailers and the amazing good vibes marketing, the question remains, can it actually deliver on all of this? It almost sounds too good to be true, and more often than not, that's exactly the case. I mean, we've heard these promises before. The ultimate live service open world isn't a revolutionary pitch, it's a recycled one. Time and time again, games have launched with sky-high ambitions only to collapse under their own weight. Technical shortcomings, shallow content, repetitive grinding, and predatory monetization have buried so many games, and yet people still fall for the hype. I mean, just look at the gacha space. How many games have been touted as the next Hoyo killer, only for the players to desert the servers within a week? And even if the game turns out to be genuinely good, the unhealthy amount of hype and internet expectations can end up overshadowing it, making people feel disappointed if the game doesn't change their lives or cater to unrealistic standards. And that's a very real challenge for Ananta, not just living up to its own vision, but surviving the tidal wave of hype that surrounds it. So that's what I'm here to look at today. I want to take a deep dive into Ananta. Looking at its gameplay mechanics, the information we've seen at Tokyo Game Show, I want to break down what this game is doing that's genuinely praiseworthy, but also highlight the red flags and things you should be cautious of before getting swept up in the hype. Don't get me wrong, Ananta could be groundbreaking, but whether it actually reaches those heights is a question we have to ask right now before expectations spiral out of control. So, my dear audience, grab a seat, settle in, and join me as we dive into the world of Ananta. One of the biggest bombshells at TGS was that Ananta is dropping the character gacha format entirely. That's right, every playable character can be unlocked through gameplay and story progression without relying on random pulls. On first thought, that sounds amazing, we don't have to play a 50-50. Of course, a huge portion of the community instantly started celebrating, throwing confetti, popping champagne, calling it the end of gacha systems and greedy practices. Finally, a free-to-play game that doesn't hold its characters hostage behind a slot machine. But here's where the skeptic in me kicks in, because those of us who've been around the block know that's not exactly how live service games really work. If they're not monetizing characters, then how exactly are they going to make their money? Remember, this isn't just a tiny indie project, it's NetEase, a company with a reputation for loving money. They didn't build a brand new studio, hire nearly 800 developers, and fund years of development just to hand out free content for charity. This game has to make its money back. And the answer Ananta came up with was cosmetics. Things like clothing, vehicles, housing furniture, and other sorts of customization items. These cosmetics can be earned through gameplay with in-game currency or directly bought with microtransactions. And anyone who's ever touched GTA Online or lived through an old MMO probably let out a collective groan when they heard that. Because while cosmetics sound harmless at first, they have a way of creeping into the core experience. First, there's the FOMO factor. Live service games love to implement limited time event outfits, seasonal exclusives, and buy it now or lose it forever items. And the developers of Ananta have confirmed that it will consistently run these limited time cosmetics. And while you probably will be able to earn a decent amount of cosmetics by simply playing the game, you and I both know that the best cosmetics will be the limited time ones. The sickest cars and the most stunning outfits for your anime waifu will be a limited item. That's standard practice for live service. The problem starts to come in when it bleeds into the progression system. Plenty of games technically let you buy limited skins with in-game currency you earn through gameplay, but the real question is, how long will it take you to grind that currency? Developers design these systems to either drain your time or your wallet. Usually the grind is not fair, it's engineered to frustrate you into spending. Want that really cool summer skin for the MC? Sure, you can earn it for free after 200 hours of mind-numbing repetitive missions. At that point, the game loop stops being about fun and starts being about wearing you down until you finally cave in and swipe your card. And it works. Ubisoft's been pulling this trick for years with Assassin's Creed, and don't even get me started on GTA Online. It sells mountains of shark cards because players simply don't have the hours to slog through its grindy economy. Even when direct currency isn't involved, publishers will find other ways to artificially stretch the grind. I mean, look at Infinity Nikki. An outfit isn't just one purchase, it's split into 11 separate pieces and you only unlock its exclusive effects by collecting every single one. Or consider level gating. Again, anyone who's played GTA Online knows the frustration of eyeing that perfect muffler for your car, only to realize it's locked behind level 80 while you're stuck at level 54. Instead of enjoying the game at your own pace, you end up feeling pressured to log in constantly or spend money just to keep up with the game's cosmetics. And then there's the priority problem. Once money's on the table, you can bet that studios will be more willing to crank out outfits and vehicle skins for the cash shop instead of, actual gameplay updates. Players end up starving for months without new story content, or the game will be buggy as heck. But hey, don't worry, you'll get 17 different legendary outfits to choose from this month because the devs gotta hit those revenue goals. If that were to happen, Ananta would stop looking like the groundbreaking anime RPG we were promised and start feeling more like a greedy anime fashion simulator. And I haven't even got started on things like battle passes and monthly in-game subscriptions. All of this is to say, just because an anime game isn't running on a gacha system doesn't automatically make it better. At the end of the day, it all depends on how greedy the developers decide to be. With existing gachas, at least you know what you're signing up for and you can plan around the system because we know what to expect. With Ananta though, we have no idea how scummy the monetization might get or how much it could bleed into the core gameplay experience. It's basically a case of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. That said, Ananta is still in mid-development. For every bit of skepticism and worry, there's also room for optimism and hope. And hopefully, the team will show some goodwill and avoid turning this game into a cash grab nightmare. And to be fair, even cosmetic-driven monetization has its upsides when handled properly. A prime example of this working is Fortnite, which has grown into one of the biggest games on the planet with a business model entirely built around cosmetics. The reason it succeeds is simple. While its empire is funded by skins and emotes, the core gameplay loop remains fun, accessible, and free for everyone. And when it comes to Ananta, I think they've built up a pretty solid core. RPG stands for role-playing game. At its core, it's a type of game where players step into the shoes of a character in a fictional setting and make choices that influence the story, world, or way the game plays. The degree of influence can vary. Most game choices affect your build, weapon, or combat style. In more pure RPGs, you can alter the story, shape relationships, or even impact the entire world of the game. Ultimately, an RPG is about freedom, the freedom to decide how you want to play. But sometimes there's a catch. What if the choices you want to make aren't part of the fantasy the game is offering? Take Persona 5 for example. I love the world of Persona 5. It's one of the most stylish, vibrant settings I have ever experienced, but at the end of the day, I'm locked into the role of a high school student. What if I actually wanted to play as a vigilante hacker or even a goofy delivery driver, but still inside the world of Persona 5? It's not really an option. And this is where Ananta begins to differentiate itself. It isn't just giving you one role to play, it's aiming to deliver all these RPG fantasies within a single unified world. Even if it is borrowed, the developers have worked hard to implement a whole host of mechanics for almost every type of job and minigame. And again, there are RPGs that let you dabble in multiple roles or have different jobs, but where Ananta truly starts to shine is how it approaches them. And that is through a unique gacha-style cast of characters. Instead of being some blank, silent self-insert who can magically do anything regardless of personality or morality, Ananta has you fully switch characters every time you take on a new role. Want to play a cop? You don't just slap on a uniform and steal a patrol car, you switch to Richie, and suddenly your gameplay, personality, and interactions all change. You have your own patrol car, you have unique mechanics to arrest citizens, and most important of all, you become a waifu with a dragon tail. Each character isn't just a different job class or skin, but a distinct new identity for you to roleplay. Take Daffy for example, you're not just playing as a delivery driver, you step into the life of a broke but lazy girl hustling to survive by delivering bizarre packages. Seymour isn't just a hacker archetype, you become this shy recluse who avoids showing his face while being a genius criminal hacker. Even the world itself reacts differently depending on who you are. Criminals respect authority figures like Richie, but they'll pick a fight the moment they see someone like the captain. And that's what makes Ananta's approach so compelling. Every role isn't just a costume swap or a class you change in a menu, it's a complete shift in gameplay, personality, and world interaction. Every switch changes not just what you do, but who you are. It's a style of RPG I could talk about for hours. But remember, this is a manage your expectations video, and it would be wrong of me not to point out the biggest problems with a system like this. Conceptually, Ananta's gameplay looks like the ultimate expression of role-playing freedom, but here's the catch. It risks being as wide as the ocean, but as deep as a puddle. Yes, the variety of roles and characters can be amazing, but if each one is only surface level, then the depth of roleplay quickly falls apart. Again, take Richie for example. Sure, she might get a few police-themed missions and NPCs that treat her with a bit of respect, but if the role boils down to arrest a random NPC, let them go, repeat, it'll feel pretty shallow pretty fast. Same with Taffy, it's funny and quirky to drive around delivering weird packages, but if that role doesn't have any cool storylines or other characters or evolving levels, it risks being nothing more than a novelty. That's the danger of this many role system. It's fantastic for variety, but variety alone doesn't equal depth. Even the combat system shows cracks when it comes to long-term depth. Ananta is going with a free-flow system, the kind you've seen in Batman Arkham, Shadow of Mordor and Sleeping Dogs. It's a style that shines when you're dropped into a room full of enemies, letting you chain together brutal counters and flashy environmental takedowns. And yes, it's fun in the moment, especially when you get the rhythm going. But free-flow combat has always struggled with a few things like enemy variety, meaningful boss fights, and long-term engagement. Most combos in the system boil down to mashing a single button rather than chaining together strings of moves like in DMC or Bayonetta. And once you've mastered the counter timing and the flow of fights, there's not much else to sink your teeth into. The result is a combat system that starts strong but feels like it lacks depth the longer you play. And when it comes to live service games, it's depth that keeps players invested in the long term. People will happily grind for hours if they can feel themselves progressing, earning new abilities, unlocking achievements, hitting milestones. But if all the mechanics are front-loaded with no progression beyond the starting gimmick, boredom sets in pretty fast. Sure, Ananta will probably be fun for casual players to hop in and out of, but without layered mechanics or evolving gameplay loops, it's unlikely to build a dedicated long-term community. Instead, it risks becoming a city full of distractions, fun for a few hours, then fading into a checklist of activities. And if cosmetics end up being the ultimate endgame reward paired with the kind of priority monetization I mentioned earlier, then you really are looking at a game that's fun to fool around with for an hour or two, but miserable to grind in the long run. That said, I don't mind if Ananta leans into being more of a casual experience. Some of my favorite games like Uncharted or Star Rail are more about flashy set pieces and cool stories than endgame building, and I would consider it a job well done if Ananta did the same. But if you're expecting a deep endgame or a combat system that motivates you to keep mastering it, you're probably better off looking elsewhere. And even for the casual players, when it comes to content and expanding the world of Nova City, we might also be in for a few problems. One of the things that worries me most about Ananta is the characters. And no, I'm not talking about the fact that most of them are waifus, that sort of comes with the territory. What really concerns me is how small the casts feel right now. And it does make sense when you start to think about it. We've mentioned how each character in Ananta isn't just a combat moveset with a quirky personality, they come with their own gameplay mechanics, side missions, and special interactions. The devs have to design unique apartments for them, hangout events with the MC, and even make sure other NPCs react differently to them in the world. That level of depth makes the characters feel very alive, but it also means creating a new one takes a lot of time, months even, and in a live service game, that kind of development pace can be dangerous. Because at the end of the day, characters are the beating heart of any cast-driven game. Players don't get attached to a new jacket skin or a new street corner on the map, they get attached to people. Characters bring identity, story, and emotions into the experience. A new character isn't just another option on the roster, it's a new lens through which players can rediscover the world. Just look at other games built around distinctive casts. Sure, new regions pull players back in, but it's the characters that define the hype. Think Hu Tao, Raiden Shogun, Acheron, Phynon, Astrayao, Miyabi, Shorekeeper, Camellia. None of them launch with a new region, yet their banners were the biggest events in their respective games. Characters create momentum, and if it takes 6 months to release just one, players will start to feel starved for variety, especially when they've already explored the base roster. I mean, we've already seen what happens when a gacha community turns on a game. All it takes is one slow month, a small content drought, and suddenly the entire player base is calling the game dead, accusing the devs of not caring and roasting it into oblivion. Now imagine how Ananta would fare under that same scrutiny if it adopted this more moderate release pace. And the problem gets even trickier when you realize that every character is free, which means the publishers have no financial incentives to push out new characters quickly. Instead, they would probably focus on monetizing skins and cosmetics rather than maintaining a regular character release cycle. But on the other hand, if the developers do choose to release characters at a faster pace, that opens up a whole new can of worms. Because these characters have so much in them, it raises the question, how much care and polish can they realistically put into each character down the line? Right now, the characters look amazing, but a rush schedule could easily lead to later characters feeling half-baked. Their abilities will be uninspired, their missions shallow, and their personalities forgettable. In the worst case scenarios, we might start seeing copy-paste designs, a new character who's just a reskinned version of an old one. Imagine another member of the police force who just reuses Richie's mechanics with a few tweaks and a new outfit. It's a lose-lose situation for the devs. Go slow and the players get impatient, go fast and the quality suffers. It's a brutal balancing act, and honestly, I do not envy their position. But there is still a part of me, maybe a little naive, that wants to believe the developers can actually pull this off. Over the last 2 years, I have been skeptical of Ananta. I've questioned its direction, its monetization, its game systems, and yet, no matter how many doubts I raise, I can't stop thinking about it. Something about this game refuses to leave my mind. Because beneath all the urban chaos and the flashy showcases, there's heart. I think about how we have to deliver a vomiting vampire as Taffy, how weirdos in starfish masks ride on in walking toilets, the movie references hidden in every frame of the trailer, the Metal Gear stomping through the city, the Uncharted-style set pieces, the slap minigame, and the captain, the gloriously corny captain, shouting one-liners with more confidence than actual sense. On paper, it's absurd, but that's exactly what makes it work. These moments, ridiculous as they are, feel human. Like any wacky anime, they show creativity unrestrained by the fear of looking silly, and that's what draws me in. Because when a team dares to make something this strange, this specific, this unapologetically full of character, it tells me they care. You can feel it in every bizarre idea, every tiny animation, every goofy detail. This isn't just a project being churned out by a committee, it's something made by people who love what they're creating. And that is something worth believing in, because passion like that can carry a project further than any marketing plan or content roadmap ever would. It's the kind of passion that reminds me why I fell in love with anime games in the first place, that raw spark of imagination that turns nonsense into magic. So yeah, maybe I am being idealistic, maybe I'm overestimating them. But when I see the amount of soul poured into every corner of Ananta, I can't help it. I want to believe. I want to see this game succeed, not just because it looks fun, but because it feels alive. And any world that feels this alive deserves a chance to grow. I titled this video, "Don't Get Fooled by the Ananta Hype." But if that's true, then I might just be the biggest fool of them all. And those are my thoughts on Ananta, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed our time together, be sure to help me out by liking, sharing, and commenting down below on what makes you so excited about Ananta. Links in the description if you want to buy me a coffee, and if you're new around here, hi, I'm the starward Crusader, and I have a whole series of videos and story recaps waiting for you to enjoy by hitting that big red subscribe button. A special shout out to Lilith Snow for supporting the show. You're the best. So yeah, Ananta, huh? Well, funny thing is, I originally started this video just to calm down the hype a bit. It was kind of getting unbearable, and I wanted to play the contrarian for a bit. But somewhere along the line, I ended up getting excited myself for Ananta, which sort of defeated the whole purpose of the video, so it feels a bit all over the place. Don't get me wrong, I really want to believe in Ananta, but I've also seen what happens when expectations get too high. Good games can end up being buried under their own hype. I mean, just look at Cyberpunk 2077. I genuinely thought it was a solid game when it launched, but between the bugs and the unrealistic expectations, people wrote it off before even giving it a fair shot. Thankfully, it got its redemption arc a couple of years later, but not every game gets that chance. And when I look at how Ananta is being marketed, it starts to feel like deja vu. That's why I wanted this video to be sort of a reality check for the community. The basic message I wanted to convey is, it's fine to be hyped, just don't let that hype turn into hate if the game stumbles a bit. At the end of the day, no matter how passionate the devs are, money is money, and publishers will want the most profitable thing, so it's the world we live in. But to be fair, NetEase has actually been letting their projects breathe more lately. Marvel Rivals and Where Winds Meet are proof of that. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of hope for Ananta. And with all that said, until next time, my dear audience, may your journey lead you ever starward.
Looks like that's the end of the show.